Well, hello everyone. Today is October 4th, Monday, and this is our one of our bi-weekly times where we meet to talk with the patients and just try and uh, answer questions. We are from Tustin Longevity Center, and we are here as a integrative functional medicine, standard trained physicians and naturopath. And we are a clinic that is trying to create resources for people to ask questions. And the premise would be, how would a functional doctor, an integrative doctor, approach certain issues? And then how would we bring in standard allopathic medicine consultations and stuff if needed? And so these are questions that we're trying to help integrate, being integrative. And so I'm Dr. Ella Thorpe, the founder of Tustin Longevity Center, where I'm one of 5 physicians, healthcare providers that are here to try and help you. One of the things I want to bring up right away is that next Monday, the 11th, I'm going to start early that day at 5:30 p.m. I had originally started at 5:30, but then I moved it to 6 p.m. But next week I have to do it a little bit earlier. And the reason is I have a lecture to give at Zito's Pizza restaurant in Orange at 7 p.m. That's Zito, Z-I-T-O Pizza. A educational organization has asked me to come and talk about health and preventive medicine and staying well and to answer questions. So I have to drive from here to Orange. So I will end next Monday at 6:30 the latest, so I can hop in the car and drive over there. Tonight, this evening, I'm having someone come here to the clinic to interview me for another program. And so I will be stopping at 6:45. So we only have 45 minutes. So I want to begin. Let's go to the questions. Jennifer. Hi, Jennifer. Ophelia, actually, Ophelia is just waiting. Jennifer, blessings, Dr. Ella Thorpe. Thank you so much, Jennifer, and thank you for your prayers. Do you think the oil spill will affect our food and water supply? Should we add or increase any supplements as a precaution? Well, I do think that petrochemical contamination of the coastline does have an ecological impact. These petrochemicals will seep in and be picked up into the sewers and the wetlands and such and water systems. So number one, all of us should be using a water filtration system for your drinking water and your cooking water. So I have here in the office my Berkey water that I use, and I do have a Kangen water alkalizing machine, and I use filtered water in my home. So that would be one thing that I would say would be the most important thing. What are other things that help petrochemical laden volatile organic acids? Vitamin C, antioxidants, and if you're taking Juice Plus, powerful antioxidant system, extra vitamin C, that's very valuable. Drink enough water, systemic enzymes to create a dynamic to get rid of damaged cells in your own body. So filter your water. Air filtration, the wind, the trade winds are usually from off the West Coast inland. And so there is a concern that they'll be picked up with some volatile organic acids. So that's certainly a possibility, but the same things such as taking extra vitamin C or a powerful antioxidant like Juice Plus would be helpful in your systemic enzymes. Outside of that, air filtration for your bedroom, especially when you're sleeping at night, you might want to close your windows and your door and have that one room, your bedroom, without air filtration. So that's possibly something that would be of help. Then let's see. Vanessa. Okay, Vanessa says, what is the best diet for Hashimoto's and supplements to be on? Thank you. Hashimoto is the name of a researcher, a physician that put together the symptom complex and findings that identify antibody attack of your thyroid. These antibodies, we believe, are caused from a diet that is injurious to the lining of your gastrointestinal system. And the source of so much of our poor health. The approximately 70, 75, I've heard as high as 80% of your lymphocytes, your immune system, is lining the gastrointestinal system from your adenoids, tonsils, all down along the lining of your gut. So if you're eating processed foods that are full of chemicals, that are having genetic modified features in it, like the grains that we consume that have genetic modification and glyphosate as well, these are foreign, and it's perceived by the immune system as an invasion. Plus, just with aging, the one cell lining of your gut is easily damaged. So if you're constantly eating a repetitious pattern of eating, let's say toast every morning that has these genetic modifications in it and potential glyphosated grains, then that is going to repeatedly injure your one cell membrane thick lining, and that's a double lipid bilipid layer. Then other foods that you may not eat so often, maybe the egg protein, maybe the tomato, maybe the cashews that you're eating, maybe the dairy that you're eating. These things will more easily pass through the lining, and then your immune system is even more amplified in its alarm to invasion. So when that happens, very often the thyroid is misread as a tissue that is similar to this damage going on. So it's a misidentification and then an auto attack, which is often the thyroid. And this is then seen as antibodies to the two major structural components of your thyroid gland, the follicles, both the thyroid peroxidase inner matrix and the lining around it, the thyroglobulin antibodies. So there's two kinds that we're aware of. This will then aggravate the gland, and your gland will have more thyroxine, free T3, sent out, and you'll get the rapid heart rate and the irritability, the diarrhea, palpitations. And then you'll go to the doctor and they'll see the inflammation in your body and then your thyroid, and they'll say you have an itis, a thyroiditis, inflammation of your thyroid gland from the antibodies attacking it. So when you say, what's the proper diet then? We begin by telling someone to try and eat a very bland, simplified rotational menu, so that one day they'll have maybe chicken and a vegetable for both lunch and dinner, and then the next day something completely different, a different protein and different vegetable for lunch and dinner, and the third day a different protein and a different vegetable, and of course always grass-fed, free-range things. And we don't like a lot of spices, packaged food with various elements in it. That way your body is geared up to look at two things per day, protein and the vegetable. And we say the only condiments we like are butter and salt. And typically if someone follows that simplified menu, day 1, 2, 3, 4, at least 4 days before you come back to your original day 1 menu. Then that gives your body healing time if perchance, let's say chicken is one of the food allergies that you have. Your body's only seeing it once every 4 or 5 days. Then we give powdered repair material for the cell membrane itself. A double layer is made of these phospholipids. So we give phospholipids in a powdered form to take twice a day mixed with water. And we usually add some extra immune protection immunoglobulins in an item called SBI Protect. We mix those together. And then I guess thirdly, we do usually add in a powdered probiotic. And then we ask the person not to eat after 6 o'clock so that their gut can have 18 hours before it has to face another meal processing, because to eat is to make your body work. And so once we get some more testing back, we'll do food allergy testing. It could be that you're eating a wonderful piece of fish, and that fish, in fact, is one of the foods you are reacting to. So by the time we get the test back, you'll have at least simplified your menu down and limited the hours you're eating to provide for more healing time. And we should see the antibodies come down. And we always see the antibodies come down when people do this. I always see the problems go up every holiday season because almost everyone starts eating foods that they've learned to avoid or foods that they shouldn't eat frequently. And so all November, December, people are getting inflamed again. And every January and February, I see people with re-expressions of their inflammatory processes. So I want you to be very careful over the holiday season not to be tricked into eating things that you normally wouldn't, so that every day for the next 60 days, 80 days, you're eating bad food simply because it's a season of eating this kind of stuff. So hopefully that will help you, Vanessa, with understanding what's the best diet. Until we get the food allergy, and I use immunofood allergies, the best thing to do is to eat from noon till 6, to have a very simplified menu, very rare, if any, condiments except for butter and salt, and rotate your diet every day and have at least 4 menus, 4 different daily menus until you come back to day 1. And then hopefully you can find an integrative doctor, functional doctor, who can do some food allergy testing and other things. And again, I want to mention that this is not to be personal medical advice. This is designed to answer questions in a general fashion. So if you have other issues, please understand that you need to have your own healthcare provider. I'm just giving general comments on these things. The next question comes from Christina. Christina asks, why do some labels say the total fat is 17 grams with saturated fat as only 8 grams? No other fat is listed. Is there any way to know where the other 9 grams of fats come from? Why is this not listed? Well, there's a philosophy that has been wrongly taught in medicine and in the healthcare and media that fat is bad, and that fat in particular is the saturated fat. So what has come from this is the labeling on the packages to isolate out saturated fat. The other kind of fats are monounsaturated fats and polyunsaturated fats. So what you're seeing is the singling out of saturated fat because of the uninformed, undereducated baseline of the training in raising up physicians, dietitians, nurses, other healthcare personnel. They really should have a much more organic and biochemistry in their training. Again, my father was a fatty acid food researcher with Armour Foods, and so I guess it was meant to be that I should go major in chemistry and biochemistry and become this chemist before I became a doctor. But that explains it. There's a bias against saturated fat. It's a wrong bias, and that's why they single it out. But the other fats are mono and polyunsaturated fats. Hopefully that helps you, Christina. GB says, hi, Dr. Ellithorpe. And I say hi back to you, GB. Thank you for joining us. Christina asks another question. What is your opinion of Red 40? Thank you. I'm not necessarily sure if that's the red dye, a particular food dye. Let me just look here. Red 40. And let's see if I can see what that is. Oh, yeah. Are you talking about Allura Red AC? It's a red azo dye that goes by several names, including FD&C Red 40. It's used as a food dye and has a special number E129. I'm not in favor of any artificial additives and stuff. So, Christina, I would say I would avoid Red 40 because that's a artificial dye. So I was right on my guess on that. Okay, hopefully that helps you. My opinion is poor of Red 40. GB says, do the over-the-counter nasal swabs include the rapid COVID testing kits contain any chemicals on them? It is a concern if you test. Is it a concern if you test regularly? I don't know if we have an accurate identification of what is on those testing swabs and where they come from. Certainly, if they come from China, I would be suspect. And I can't speak to whether or not there is something else transferable. I mean, it's a potential item, but of concern. But I don't have facts on it. So it's a concern worthy of testing, but I haven't been able to look into that and have something meaningful to say. I don't know that I believe that the test is valid. There are concerns about does that nasal swab go on to PCR testing? And then we know that even the CDC has said by December 31st, they are going to totally stop the polymerase chain reaction testing because it was not reliable. So you have to ask the question, what is the test doing? Is it going to use the PCR methodology? And they've already said the methodology is failed and flawed, and our statistics are all messed up because of that. So I don't see any meaningfulness from this. I doubt that they're doing any cultures because I have yet in 2 years now, to almost 2 years, see any culture-proven evidence of what they're calling SARS-CoV-2. So I can't speak to that, GB. Okay. So I don't see the purpose of testing regularly because the test is in question. And I don't know if there are chemicals on it. I haven't looked into it enough to speak to that. Let's see. All right. Truth Through the Bible says, my daughter Elizabeth is 13, and she was diagnosed with asthma. Tests showed that she had inflammation in the lung. Her level 44, even rescue inhaler not relieving her symptoms. Does a controller take a bit to help? Meaning the inhaler? Well, the question is, if she didn't have asthma before and she's developing it now, what is causing this late expression of asthma? So we would often say there is inflammation in the body. These inflammatory reactions create symptoms. In some people, it's psoriasis. In some people, it's rheumatoid arthritis. In some people, it's a migraine headache. In some people, it's asthma, and so it goes. So I would say, I would encourage you, along with your pediatrician, to find a functional physician, integrative doctor who can do food allergies, because it can take years to develop the inflammatory reaction that is associated with psoriasis or arthritis, juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, colitis, asthma, and so forth. So I would start with the gut. I'm sure your pediatrician is hopefully doing some skin allergy testing. There are certain things that are very beneficial to the performance of better lung function, and that's the use of N-acetylcysteine, NAC, N-acetylcysteine. And when you're in an inflamed state for a 13-year-old, I would say 6 to 1,200 milligrams twice a day, and you should see improvement. She's got to drink her water. Whatever her weight is, cut that in half in pounds, and that's how many ounces of water she has to take. I would stay away from dairy. Dairy has pasteurization and homogenization that heats it up and shakes it up to the point that the cellular proteins and matrices are fractured into foreign substances that the body's not used to seeing, and it produces inflammation. I would also probably avoid all grains, so that her diet would be mostly vegetables, fruits, salads, nuts, seeds, proteins, and stay away from all the dairy and grain products. But try N-acetylcysteine. It usually comes as a 500-600 milligram tablet capsule, and I would use 2 of those, somewhere between 1,000, 1,200 milligrams twice a day if she's having trouble. And then you can cut it in half for maintenance. That might be a good beginning point for her. Make sure she drinks her water, avoids the grain and the dairy, and watch for 10 days and see if that doesn't greatly improve her well-being. Hopefully that's a start for you. Let's see. Andre says, hello, can you recommend supplements to replace euflexia hyaluronic acid injections for the knee? Thank you. Andre, most people start having knee problems when they are getting older, middle-aged and older. Some of these are aggravated from old sports injuries. Others are just from weighing too much and putting too many pounds per square inch pressure on the joint itself. And the joint itself doesn't have a good blood supply. So the cartilage in that knee, if it had a blood supply, would become calcified down. So cartilage doesn't, like your nose, God is so good. He lets us have cartilage in our nose so that we can kiss our husbands and wives and children and grandchildren. So there's certain areas where you don't have a good blood supply, and that's your cartilage. The same with your ear. If God had a blood going in the cartilage of your ear, you'd lay on the bed every night and crack your ear. So the same with your knee joint. The cartilage doesn't have a direct blood supply. It all comes through osmosis diffusion. Therefore, your water consumption is critical. And most Americans have been tricked into not drinking water, but rather drinking sodas and lattes and juices and teas and coffee. And this is not hydrating. It's entertainment to the tongue, but not for the body and your joints. And you have to have a lot of water to diffuse the repair material you need for your joints. there's only a tiny synovial membrane arteriole that is in there, and it can get easily clogged too, just like your arteries to your hearts and stuff with a very poor lifestyle. So there are supplementations that help the joint. One would be using a high-grade collagen supplement, and their chondroitin, hyaluronic chondroitin sulfate supplements. And so I use research sources. The name of mine is, what is the name of mine? Chondroflex and collagen. That's, yeah, collagen and Chondroflex. That's a orthopedically researched, and you have to understand the size of the particles is very important. You can grind up cow collagen and material like that and dry it out and sell it as a powder, but molecularly, this is junk cartilage. You have to have a high-grade, fine particulate and measured Daltons is what they call it. And so I only use research material that has been studied to help. Yeah, the other thing is you got to drink your water. You'll clog up the little tiny arteries and capillaries to your knees for repair if you take in too much starch, sugar, and things like that. So you have to be really low carb and do some fasting. Even in intermittent fasting is where you only eat at noon to 6. If you could do a day fasting twice a week, go from dinner one night to dinner the next night, and be 24 hours between your meals, dinner to dinner, and drinking lots of water. And then systemic enzymes. You have to understand the inflammation and the clogging. They're like little Pac-Men that clean through the material. All these things would help you. EDTA chelation would help you. So if you could find a doctor who's integrative, who uses Chondroflex and collagen, GEN, collagen. These are orthomolecular products of high reputable and reliable value. Now, the knee, you have to use this faithfully over 6 months to see the progression. And if you're intermittently binging with carbs and junk food, not drinking water, you're going to have a problem. We're talking about trying to sincerely drink your water, sincerely do some intermittent fasting that will disinflame you, take your enzymes, and with all those things together, you should see the benefit, Andre. And I hope that helps you. So Ophelia is saying hi to Jennifer. Jennifer said hello to Ophelia. That's cute. People are seeing one another here. Ophelia said she emailed her question. Talon did not give me an email list of questions this time. I did last week. I don't know if that was one of your questions. So on last Monday's, I went over it. I'll ask, and then Wednesday, when we do it in the morning, 9:45 to 10:15, I'll ask Talon if he saw a question from you, Ophelia, okay? The next question, Laura, are you able to write medical exemptions for the current virus? What would qualify in your opinion, experience? Can one get an appointment with you for this? So you're asking, we aren't, let me put it this way. The oath that I took, Hippocratic oath, the international criminal law courts, the Nuremberg trial codes for medical practice that came out. You have to remember there were many trials, the military, and there were trials for doctors, and there were doctors that were executed for what they did. And so there are laws that have come out of this that have stated that it is an international treaty agreement that we have that we are not to give to a human being any experimental drug or treatment for which there is no consent, or for which we cannot inform them accurately and fully as to what it is and the side effects. So when you come to that question, Laura, I do not have, nor has there been, disclosure of the contents in the vaccine or information, and there have been so many conflicting reports. The study for the control group for the vaccinated people was discontinued, I believe, January 20th, they stopped recruiting, and then they started vaccinating their control group. We have renowned lawyers, and we have renowned physician researchers who have been foundational in developing this gene biologic therapy, who are advising us to proceed with caution. And so I don't have the information that is required to lawfully recommend that you get a vaccination, because there is too much misinformation out there. Therefore, based on that, I am not able to recommend vaccinating patients, because I don't want to put you at risk or myself by disobeying the oaths that I have sworn to take care of you. If you are my patient, I do write this to that effect, that I'm not able or do not recommend any vaccination, be it the Moderna, Pfizer, J&J, AstraZeneca, because there is insufficient data being made clearly known and discussed amongst all these entities that are arguing right now. There are commissions. There's the Great Barrington Declaration. That's Dr. Bhattacharya, Dr. Koldroff, and Dr. Gupta. This is Oxford, Stanford, and I believe Yale. And these are three very well-renowned physician researchers, both in America and the United Kingdom. We have Dr. Malone, who is part of the developer of the vaccination for messenger RNA, DNA delivery systems, who is challenging the process and the means in which we're doing this. And we have researchers like Dr. Gert van de Bosch, who is a European researcher, virologist, veterinarian with great experience, concerned about the antibody dependent enhanced reactions. Now, with all this going on, then I have to say it is not fully known. And so without the ability to give informed consent, I can't recommend it. And that's what I write for my patients if they ask me for the recommendation. That's my recommendation. I put in a letter form for them. Let's see, Laura. Laura says, use a neti pot after each nasal swab. Yeah, you know, we have the Argentin Silver nasal spray. You could do that instantaneously after any nasal swab. That's a very reasonable thing. Laura, thank you very much. The next item is Dolphin. Dolphin says, is it important to get ivermectin in case my husband has problems from the vaccine? Is it important to get ivermectin in case? Well, remember the vaccine is a gene biologic therapy that has been being worked on and researched and patented and so forth since the late 1990s. And this research has led to the vaccine biologic gene therapy singling out the spike protein. That's the only part of it, is that spike protein. And it has multiple components to it, and it is considered the infectious, damaging, pathological agent. And so you're not getting the whole virus. It is only if you take it as a gene therapy do you enlist your own messenger, your ribosomes, to read this and to produce it from the vaccine. So I don't think you are, quote unquote, becoming infected with a virus, SARS-CoV-2. You're just getting that spike protein. So do you need an antiviral, ivermectin, to protect you? And the answer is, if that's just you're concerned about shedding, read the FDA report on the 2015 information about when they were developing messenger RNA and DNA vaccine gene therapies. They knew about shedding. They talked about its impact and were doing studies on it, but it wasn't described as the viral infection itself. So I don't think that you need ivermectin for that. Now, you might want ivermectin for the Delta variant of the virus from an infection, from a viral infection, but from a spike protein shedding, I don't think you do, Dolphin. Okay, so Dolphin also asks, how do we avoid the PCR test with the additives? The PCR test with the additives. I'm not sure I know what you mean by that, Dolphin. There's the PCR, polymerase chain reaction, RT, reverse transcriptase test with the additives. Are you thinking that when they do a swab or something like that, there are additives in the swab or something? I don't know that I understand your question. Again, the PCR test is being thrown out. It was unreliable. A lot of our arguable statistics are based on faulty, false positive overreading of the test due to the PCR. So it's a big mess. Sarah says she has a friend with a stomach virus that won't let up. 5 days straight, can't keep anything, even electrolyte drinks in. What's your general suggestion for stomach virus? Well, if you're 5 days and unable to keep anything down, even liquids, that sounds like something that you need to present to your doctor, to your urgent care or an emergency room with, so you're not getting dehydrated and losing your electrolytes. In general, for diarrhea, stomach upset, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, we recommend just a clear liquid diet for about a day to day and a half. And that would be something like chicken broth or beef broth, none of the noodles or rice in it, just the broth and water. And I would use it warmed, lukewarm, not hot, and the same with the water. And I would put sugar in the water, or you can add ginger ale, because ginger is a calming agent for the stomach. Ginger ale would be helpful. So mix that with water so you're not getting the coldness of it or too much of the sugar, and see if that would help. I would, if it's 5 days though, you would have to think that you really should be seeing, because normally these things tend to improve and you should be able to keep liquids down. Hopefully that helps you. Dolphin says, if we have to do a PCR test, what should we put on it instead of our saliva? I guess what I should say, Dolphin, is maybe I'm not up on some of the testing kits. It's possible there's a kit I don't know about, but I'm not quite sure what to ask. I'll have to look into that. Maybe next Wednesday I can have some more answers for you. I'll write myself a little note here. Dolphins questions on PCR, saliva, and possible contaminants. Yes, this is how we learn as doctors. You patients are a very important part of how we grow. And again, if you're going to be a doctor, you got to agree to be a student all the days of your life. Laura says, thoughts on root canals? Any dentist in Southern California you recommend that can help with chronic infections in the jawbone? Let me see here. Scroll that up a little bit. Whoops. What treatments would you recommend to help treat chronic systemic infections? I don't have a specific doctor. Yeah, I would look under the title of biological dentistry. I would ask the doctor, I would call the office and talk with the receptionist and ask the doctor if they remove mercury fillings, if they use the dam, if they are using ozone or other nutrients like that. If the receptionist sounds like, what on earth are you talking about? Then you know that that dentist is not using forward-thinking, anti-infectious, disinfecting natural substances. So call around, but look under the title of biological dentist. I don't have a name off the top of my head. One just popped in my head. His name is Dr. Pollis, Pollis, in Laguna Niguel. I think he does this, yeah. But call the receptionist and ask them if they use IV vitamin C, if they remove the mercury fillings, if they use the dams to protect from mercury gases, if they use ozone and things like that. Very often you can inject ozone in the site where they're doing a root canal. You can get high-dose vitamin C drips with that. Of course, EDTA chelation to pull out any mercury and stuff. Now, we here do the high-dose vitamin C so you could get your work done and then come to a place like ours. Any functional integrative doctor could do chelation for pulling out the toxic metals. High-dose vitamin C as an antiviral, antioxidant, antibacterial. We also do the ozonation of the blood, which includes the ultraviolet light irradiation as well. So maybe that would help you on that. And then Argentine silver, I would fast, 18 hours before any dental procedure, and I would be very low carb, and I would swish and swallow the Argentine, take a sip of it, 2-3 teaspoons. And you could do that 3 or 4 times a day, and that will help. The ozone can help get the deep bone osteonecrotic sites. The doctor himself might do an injection of ozone at the site, would help. So those are some of the things that are commonly done. So when you call around or find a integrative doctor like us, we can try and work together with that dentist and help you out. Let's see. Laura said, can ivermectin cause diarrhea? Have you heard Blue Cross has stopped paying for it? What do you recommend when insurance refuses to pay? Well, God's my provider, and I will pay for what I need. And I will give up something or sell something on Craigslist or something for what I need. So I didn't go to billing school. I think the insurance system is with a lot of corruption, and the insurance system is really running medicine right now. So my opinion of them is very dark concerning any billing system. Well, it's a long story. When I first started working in the doctor's office as a medical student, the doctor wasn't taking insurance. It was in the early 70s. and it was $2.50 for an office visit and $7.50 for a new patient. Can you believe it? All right, so can ivermectin cause diarrhea? I believe that is one of the side effects of it. Of course, if you have COVID or you're exposed to a virus, that can cause it too. But everything is needful for you to discuss with your doctor about if it's long lasting and how to manage this. But I suppose that could be a side effect of it. And Laura goes on to ask, what type of water filter or drinking water do you recommend? How do you get enough electrolytes? Well, I use the Alexa Pure. I ordered mine from Infowars.com, Infowars.com, their store, and the Berkey water filter. And so that's the ones that I am using. And how do I make sure I get enough electrolytes? Well, if you're eating meat, fish, chicken, turkey, beef, eggs, fish, crab, you're getting so many minerals. It's some of the most electrolyte and mineral sufficient foods. And then I liberally salt my food because I drink enough water every day. I drink a lot of water, so I don't have any concern about how much salt I use. So those are nutrient and mineral rich foods. And if you drink your water, you should salt your food to taste liberally. Truth Through the Bible said, what type of water would you recommend that is free of fluoride? Well, the filters do filter out fluoride, and so you can actually ask for the water filtration that will do that. So just check on the water filter you're getting because they do make that available. Robert asks, your office referred me to a urologist and they said I was a good candidate for a UroLift procedure to help with restricted urination due to BPH. You said anytime you put foreign objects in your body, it can have inflammation or other side effects. Are there other ways to reverse BPH symptoms? I already do low carb and everything else you recommend. Yes, there's a balance for everything. If you need a hip replacement, you're going to need that prosthesis. If you're having a bad hernia, you might need a mesh. If you're having a UroLift, you might need that. So everything is a balance. We're all doing everything we can to reduce the reactivity. So if you have it placed, you're probably going to have the least likelihood of it reacting as opposed to someone who is not concerned about what they eat and they're inflamed already. So I am going to have to bring this to an end because I have this person coming. So I'm going to say, let's see. Linda said, thank you, doctor, for your courage to speak truth and love. Okay, praise the Lord. Dr. Malone, Dr. McCullough. Okay, many of them are speaking about this. Thank you. And Dolphin says, how can the neurological effects of the jab be mediated? Not for me, for my husband. I wouldn't get the jab, I hope. Again, EDTA chelation, because the spike protein is defined as having a cation type electrical charge that's a positive charge, and EDTA chelation is negative, so it helps to pull that out. Drinking plenty of water, taking systemic enzymes, using a healthy cell membrane repair diet. So don't be afraid of eating your meat, your chicken with the skin on it, your eggs and fish. And you could use NT factor, or our doctor's nutrition bars are full of that NT factor to help repair these membranes. Taking a walk, keep your body in motion. Be low carb so you don't clog things up and inflame it. Try and eat a simplistic diet. Try and do intermittent fasting so you're not always working on your food system, but your body has time to repair through non-eating times. So with that, I'm going to say take care. God bless. We'll see many of you Wednesday morning at 9:45 to 10:15. And I will look up, Dolphin, the kits on the testing and the swab and some of the side effects, and I'll try and beef up on that. So God bless everybody. Take care. Good night.